Hey guys, welcome to the channel. As you see in the thumbnail, what if Issei teleported in Pokemon World and get Harem? Before I start, please do support for more awesome content, and subscribe my channel and like this video. Go support and follow the Myth 0s216 for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story. Link in the description. Somewhere in the underworld, the sound of an explosion could be heard throughout the town. People were running away trying to avoid being caught in the chaos. The cause of that chaos was a certain individual. With all the chaos and destruction, a force was called in to quell it. Heading towards the scene was Team DXD trying to find the source. Issei was flying alone in his balance breaker form, having been away from the others who were close by when the attack happened, and was currently rushing to help them. I hope nothing happens before I get there, Issei said to himself. As he got closer, he could hear the sound of combat up ahead. The sounds made him worried, and he sped up trying to get there faster. When he arrived, he saw that whoever was attacking was backing the others into a corner. He quickly landed between the enemy and the others, ready to fight. "Issei!" exclaimed Rias happily. The others had relieved looks as well. The one causing the chaos, on the other hand, showed a smug smile. "So, you've finally arrived, hi to Issei," said the mystery man. "Who are you? Are you someone from the Alliance of Hell?" asked Issei. "That is irrelevant. The only thing that matters is getting rid of you." The figure lifted his hand, and a dangerous amount of power began to gather in it. "Issei, watch out. This guy's power is no joke," yelled Kiba. The unknown man launched his attack at Issei and he dodged it, but the attack caused a large explosion which pushed everyone nearby back. After seeing that, Issei realized how serious this was. He charged toward the assailant while boosting his power and went in to punch him, but ended up missing as the man dodged him. The man then launched another magic attack that Issei countered with his dragon shot. The two attacks collided, causing a large smoke screen. Issei was about to charge forward again when a large attack came through the smoke. Issei prepared to dodge it, but the attack went past him and was heading toward Rias and Asia, who was healing her. Issei's mind went blank for a moment, and by the time Issei could think straight, he was already moving to intercept the attack. "Rias! Asia!" he shouted as he managed to get in between the attack and them. He guarded, preparing to take the brunt of the attack, but something unexpected happened. When the attack hit him, it completely enveloped him, trapping him inside. "Issei-san!" yelled Rias and Asia as the attack began to glow brighter. Soon a large flash of light blinded everyone, and when everyone could see again, Issei was nowhere to be seen. Everyone was trying to figure out what happened, but the mystery man just laughed ominously. "Simple-minded fool. I knew it would be easy to get rid of you if I attacked your loved ones." Akino looked at the man in rage. "What did you do to Issei?" she yelled. The man just looked at her condescendingly. "I sent the Red Dragon Emperor to another dimension, never to return. Even I don't know where, just to be sure that nobody can get a lead as to where. He will be lost forever." The group almost couldn't comprehend what he was saying, not because it didn't make sense, but because they didn't want to accept it. It became clearer that they were about to sink into despair, but before any of that could happen, a tear opened up in the sky, catching everyone's attention, including the mystery man. A large ominous shadow seemed to be coming through it. "What is that?" asked Rias. Issei didn't know what was going on. He found himself being flung through some unknown dimension with no way to control where he was going. After a while he saw a light that he was quickly heading towards. It got so bright that he had to shield his eyes. When the light died down enough for him to see, he saw that he was heading towards the ground fast. He braced himself as he crashed through a tree and hard into the ground. "Ow wow," groaned Issei as he pulled himself up off the ground. He was trying to reorient himself as he got up. Once he could concentrate, he looked around and saw he was on a cliff near the ocean. The sun was high in the sky, and he had no idea where he was. He looked around and there was nobody around. Issei dismissed his armor as he was trying to figure out what to do. "Where the hell am I?" "Not in hell, that's for sure," quipped Drake from his hand. "Yeah, I figured that part out," responded Issei dryly. "I need to find out where I am and get back to the others quickly. We still have to deal with that mystery guy." Issei was about to fly off when he was stopped by a portal opening up in front of him. He was surprised and summoned his boosted gear, ready for whatever came out, or so he thought. From the portal emerged two draconic-looking creatures, one blue and gray, one with a gem in its chest and a pink and white one with gems in each shoulder. Issei wasn't sure what was happening but became even more confused at what happened next. He saw on top of the blue creature someone that looked like himself. He was about to say something, but the other person spoke first. "Hey, look, I know you're probably confused, but I don't have a lot of time, so listen closely. I'm you from the future," revealed the lookalike. "If you want to get back to help Rias and the others, you need to find these two creatures. This is Dialga, the creator of time, and this is Palkia, the creator of space. You need to use these guys' power to return to this point in time, and then back to our own dimension so that it will be like we never left." Issei was having a hard time following but understood what his future self was saying. "How do I find them?" he asked. "Sorry, but I can't tell you too much. If you knew how things were supposed to go, then you would stress yourself out trying to follow it. And we both know that we have a hard time with stuff like that." Issei mentally nodded his head, knowing he was right. "Don't worry about the details, just do what you think is right. As long as you know what your goal is, you will succeed. Me being here explaining all of this is proof of that." Issei nodded again in confirmation. "Alright, that's enough chit-chat. I need to go and help the girls. Good luck on your adventure," said future Issei. Palkia then opened a portal and both it and Dialga with future Issei on its back went through. After a few moments, the event that had just happened finally sunk in. Did I just have a conversation with myself? That's the thing that's bugging you? Not the fact that you somehow have control over the creators of time and space in the future? Yeah, that is kinda weird. Well, we'll figure it out later, I guess. Let's figure out where we are first." Issei began to walk along the cliffside. As he walked, he saw all kinds of creatures that he'd never seen before. The creatures looked at him with curiosity but fled when he got near. That was until he came across one strange one. It was glowing faintly with yellow and black fur, walking on two legs, and when it caught sight of him, it came running up to him. Issei wasn't sure how to react, so he just stood there and watched the small animal run up to him. "Rawr?" said the small creature as it tilted its head in curiosity. Issei knelt down so he could be at a more even height with it. "Hey little guy, you wouldn't happen to know where the closest town is, do you?" Issei wasn't hoping for much, especially since he was talking to what he could only assume was an animal, but found himself pleasantly surprised. The creature made a contemplative look while putting its paw on its chin, then it looked like it came up with something and lifted its paw in the air. "Rawr!" It barked happily and started walking along the cliff while pointing in a direction. "That way? Well, I guess I'll follow you," said Issei as he walked behind the small animal. They walked further along the cliff until they reached a small pond where several more creatures that Issei had never seen before were around and in it. One in particular caught his attention, a rather large bug-looking creature with scythes for hands that was almost his size. The bug in question noticed Issei and the small animal and took a fighting stance. "Scyy! Scyther!" yelled the bug creature, and it charged Issei. Issei prepared to fight, but the small animal charged in first. Its paws glowed with an almost silver sheen as it landed multiple punches into the large bug's stomach. The bug didn't expect the attack and was surprised but soon counterattacked, hitting the small creature with its scythes and sending him flying back. Issei was surprised that the small creature was only scratched from the hit, which made him wonder if the blades were dull or if the small animal was really durable, but he didn't want to test it and find out. When the large bug went in for another attack, Issei jumped in this time, summoning his boosted gear. Ascalon, blade! Issei blocked the bug's sides with his sword, surprising it. Issei pushed it back and stood protective over his new companion. The large bug stared at Issei for a moment, but then took a serious fighting stance. Issei could see something resembling a small smile on its face. Issei summoned his other gauntlet, and brought out Ascalon too so that he would be in a similar situation to the bug. "Let's do this evenly," he said with a smile of his own. The bug used its wings to launch itself into the air, and it came down with both of its scythes. Issei decided to meet it halfway and jumped up to meet it midair. He used Ascalon to block both sides, then used Ascalon 2 to hit and slammed the bug into the ground. He held back because he didn't want to kill it. The bug was hit hard and was sent crashing into the ground. Issei landed and was now observing the bug to see if it would get back up. He saw it try to prop itself up with its scythe, but it collapsed. Issei felt a little bad and slowly walked up to it while dismissing his boosted gear. He walked up to see if it was okay but wasn't sure how to help it. I wish Asia was here. She would be able to help. Issei felt something pat the back of his leg and saw his little friend trying to get his attention. Rawr! It said while putting a paw on its chest as if to say, "Leave it to me." It then ran off somewhere, leaving Issei to watch over the bug. "Guess I'll wait here," he said and sat next to the large bug. The bug in question had one eye open and was watching Issei. Issei noticed it and gave it a smile. "You're good. You seem to have a good fighting spirit. I'm sorry if we entered your territory or something, I'm a bit lost." The large bug quietly listened but showed no hostility while it was next to Issei. Sometime later the small animal came back while holding a bunch of blue fruit that Issei had never seen before. It walked up to the large bug and dumped the fruit in front of it. It then picked one up and put it near the bug's mouth. "Rawr, I think he wants you to eat it," said Issei to the bug. The bug opened its mouth and accepted the berry. After eating one it gained enough strength to sit up and started eating some more. Issei quietly watched as it ate, while looking satisfied when his new friend offered him a berry too. "For me? Well, I guess I am kinda hungry." Issei ate the berry and was unsure what he was tasting. The fruit tasted dry, bitter, sour, and spicy all at the same time, but it didn't taste bad. In fact, he felt a bit energetic after eating it. After they had finished eating, Issei got up followed by his new friend. "Alright, well it's time we got going. See you," he said as the two continued to walk in the direction they were walking before. They were stopped a moment later. "Scyther, Scyy Scyther," said the giant bug. Issei still didn't understand what it was saying, but by its look he had a guess. "Do you want to come with?" The large bug nodded its head. "Well, welcome aboard, Scyther." The bug smiled happily, and the group now became a group of 3. After passing the pond the group went to a cliff where the small animal pointed to a house that was now in view. "I see. Maybe they could tell me where I am." Issei looked around and could see another house not far from the first one. He continued to look around and saw a path leading somewhere, and on it was an older guy walking down the path. He was wearing an oddly colored suit that was half scarlet and half violet. Jacket color aside, he was a well-dressed man. "Maybe I'll have better luck with him. He seems to know his way around." Issei prepared to jump down the cliff when his leg was grabbed by his small friend. He looked over and saw a nervous look on its face. "Oh, right, why don't you hang on to me?" he said while grabbing his small friend. A moment later he jumped down the cliff with the bug flying down next to them. When they landed, Issei put his new friend down, who looked like he had fun jumping down. They then rushed to meet the man traveling down the path. Issei got to a smaller cliff that was closer to the old man and called out to him. "Excuse me, could I talk to you for a moment?" he yelled. The old man noticed him and nodded. Issei jumped down the small cliff followed by his new friends and rushed to the older man. "How can I help you, young man?" said the old man respectfully. "Yes, so I'm lost. I have no idea where I am or where to go. Could you help me?" "Oh my, that is quite the predicament. Well, first off, do you know where you want to go?" "And no. My situation is complicated." Issei debated in his mind whether or not he should explain, but decided he had nothing to lose. "So, bear with me for a moment. What I'm about to tell you may sound a bit crazy, but it's 100% the truth." The old man nodded his head in understanding, and Issei began to explain his situation, how he got there, and what his supposed future self said to him. After he finished, he nervously waited to hear what the old man thought. The old man in question had a hand on his chin as if he was contemplating the info he just got, but eventually he nodded and looked at Issei. "I see. Well, if that's the case, I would be more than glad to help you, young Issei," said the old man cheerfully. "You believe me?" Issei said, almost confused as to why he was believed so easily. "I'll admit, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around it, but you don't seem to be lying. On top of that, you have a Riolu with you, which are Pokémon known to only follow pure-hearted people, not to mention the Scyther that seems to trust you too, explained the old man. Issei looked at his little friend who was smiling at him. So, your name is Riolu, he said while patting its head. Rawr! It barked while putting its paws on its hips proudly. Also, did you say Pokémon? Is that what all the creatures I've seen were called? Ah, that's right, you don't even know the very basics. Well, allow me to explain. Actually, can we walk and talk? I was on my way to pick up someone and I don't want to be late. Of course. Sorry to distract you, it's quite alright. You were in need of assistance, so there is no issue. The two walked down the path, followed by Riolu and Scyther, as the old man explained about the world and the people and creatures called Pokémon living in it. Issei was amazed at the things he was being told, not to mention the sights as they walked. Soon they reached their destination. We have arrived. If you'll wait just a moment, I will be right back, he said as he went up to the house and knocked on the door. He soon entered the house, leaving Issei to process the information he just got with Riolu and Scyther. This world sounds amazing. I would love to bring the others here someday. Well, first I gotta find a way back home and help them with that mysterious guy, he said while clenching his fist. Riolu saw this and gave a determined look as well. Rawr! He barked while punching the air. Issei saw this and gained a smile. You wanna help me? I appreciate it. SCY Scyther. Scyther also made a look of determination, showing that it wanted to help too. Haha, thanks you too. I'll be counting on you guys. Issei was waiting patiently outside the house, wondering what was taking so long. Finally, the door opened and the old man stepped outside. Terribly sorry for the wait. My student will be out shortly. It's okay. Did you say student? I did. Oh. I realized I never introduced myself. I am Mr. Clavel, the director of the Yuva/Naranja Academy. What's the director of an academy doing all the way out here? Issei couldn't hide his curiosity. Well, aside from picking up a new student at the academy, I had business with another that lives down the road. I guess this is how the kids call killing two Spearow with one stone. What's a Spearow? Issei thought to himself. As he was thinking, a couple of people exited the house. A young girl who was wearing a uniform and an older woman who Issei assumed was her mom. Mr. Clavel turned to face the two. Right then, dear Pokémon. Time to come out of your poke balls. He pulled 3 balls out of his pocket and tossed them in the air. The 3 balls opened up and revealed 3 creatures from them, shocking Issei. We provide each student entering the academy a Pokémon of their own. I'll ask you to choose which among these 3 you'd like to have as your partner. Sprigatito, the grass cat Pokémon. SBRR, mewed the small cat. Fuecoco, the fire croc Pokémon. Craw? Said the small croc. And Quaxley, the duckling Pokémon. Pomp! Quacked the small duck. They're all very good company. Why, they usually refuse to leave my side. As he said this, all 3 walked up to the girl. What's this? So it turns out they're more interested in you, Miss Violet, than familiar old me. I do wish I could stay and see which one you'll choose, but I must be off to my next home visit. I'll be at the house just over there. Take your time with your decision, then come find me once your mind is made up. Clavel then remembered Issei was standing there quietly watching with Riolu and Scyther. Ah yes, I should introduce you. Miss Violet, this is Master Issei. He is new to the region like you and is in need of assistance. I happened to run into him on the way here and have offered to help. Oh my, what happened to you, dear? Asked Violet's mom. It's a long story, but the short version is that I was sent to this land against my will. And I have nothing but the clothes on my back, said Issei while scratching his cheek. Both Violet and her mom were shocked by this. Oh my, how horrible! To think things like this happen in the world. If there is anything you need, please don't hesitate to ask, offered Violet's mom. Thank you, but there's no need. Mr. Clavel has already offered his help and I don't want to impose. Nonsense, there's no need to be so modest. People should help each other, right, Violet? Violet nodded in agreement. Does she talk? I don't think I've heard her speak a word since she walked outside, commented Drake inside Issei's mind. As they were chatting, Clavel cut in. Well then, if you'll excuse me, I'll be heading down the road. Master Issei, why don't you walk with Miss Violet? I'm sure the two of you will get along swimmingly. He turned to walk before Issei could respond. Until next we meet, he said as he walked off. Issei felt a bit troubled but shook it off. What a mannerly fellow that director of yours is. These three are all lovely, but you need to choose one, right? Not an easy task, Violet's mom said. She looked at the three small Pokémon and smiled. Why not take this opportunity to walk about with these little ones and get to know them? I'm sure they have lots to teach you. Oh, before you go, I got you a little something to celebrate your big day. Take it with you if you're going out on your own. Violet's mom gave her a cell phone. It's a brand new phone. According to the instructions, you can check the map app on it. It'll help keep you from getting lost, so take good care of your new gadget, okay? Now off you go. Have fun, she said and walked back inside the house. Violet turned to face Issei, who felt a bit awkward not knowing what to say. I guess we should go see the director, he said awkwardly. Okay, said Violet. Oh, so you can speak. That's a relief. I wasn't sure what I was gonna do if you couldn't talk, said Issei with a sigh. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm what most people call a listener. I tend to say very little and just go with what people say, she said a bit shyly. Issei gave her a smile. I see. Well, don't worry about that with me. I'm basically a fish out of water, so you can't get any more awkward than me, he said, trying to lighten the mood and getting a chuckle out of Violet. While they were talking, the three starters were wandering around and interacting with Riolu and Scyther. Issei thought it was cute how they played. Well then, shall we go? She nodded in agreement, and the pair walked down the road followed by the group of Pokémon. The starters interacted with the things they walked by, with Riolu and Scyther faithfully standing behind Issei and Violet. As they walked, Violet spoke. Your Pokémon are well trained. Oh, these two aren't mine. They're wild, but they helped me when I was in the middle of nowhere. They decided to tag along with me and I'm grateful for that, said Issei, getting affirmative nods from the two in the back. This fact surprised Violet, and she looked a bit excited. Wow! I've never heard of wild Pokémon following a person without being caught in a Pokeball before. Pokeball, is that what those things are called? Violet tilted her head in confusion. Yeah, they're a tool to help catch Pokémon, everybody knows that. Issei looked away awkwardly. Even though there was no way for him to know, he felt kinda dumb when she put it like that. Violet saw his reaction and panicked. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to make fun of you. I was just, Issei cut her off. It's fine. It's not your fault. Like I said, I'm not from around here. There weren't any Pokémon where I'm from, so anything having to do with them is a foreign concept to me. A land without Pokémon? Violet couldn't comprehend such a thing. There were places without Pokémon, she thought. They eventually made it to the steps of the other house and Issei spoke. Don't worry about it too much. I'll learn while I'm here, he said confidently. Violet saw his confident look and nodded. Okay. Then I will help you learn all that I know, even though I'm going to school to learn about Pokémon, she petered off at the end. Issei chuckled. Well then, maybe I should enroll in this school too, he said jokingly. The duo walked up the steps followed by the Pokémon, and when they entered the gates, the three starters ran in and started playing in the yard, with Quaxley in the fountain, Sprigatito in the flowers, and Fuecoco trying to eat a fruit, only to burn it instead. Someone came up behind Fuecoco and patted it on the head. So, are you guys these three's trainers? Asked a girl with black hair and a green bang. She walked up followed by Clavel behind her as Issei and Violet went to meet them. The starters plus Riolu and Scyther gathered around as well. Not quite. Miss Violet has yet to make her choice, you see. And Mater Issei has some different circumstances, said Clavel. The three starters lined up in front of Violet now waiting to be chosen. I do wonder which of them she will choose as her first Pokémon. As they all looked at the starters, Fuecoco tried to eat the fruit that it burned, with Quaxley gesturing that it was no good, causing Fuecoco to drop it, and getting a laugh out of Clavel and the new girl. Buenas. We haven't met, have we? Asked the new girl. I must say, I wasn't expecting to see you here quite so soon, said Clavel. The new girl had a look of realization as she turned to Clavel. Hang on, Director, is this who I think it is? Yes, this is our Academy's newest student, Miss Violet. She will be attending as of today. So you're the kid who moved in up the road. I've been dying to find out more about you. I'm Nimona. Normally I live in the school dorms, but home is here. What do you say, new neighbor, wanna be friends? Violet nodded her head in affirmation. Nimona smiled at her answer. Love that enthusiasm. We're gonna get along just fine. Miss Nimona is president of our student council and a champion-ranked trainer in her own right. I absolutely love Pokémon battling. In fact, we should battle right now, you and me, she said enthusiastically. Issei chuckled from the side, seeing another person who was a battle junkie. Guess they exist in every world, he thought to himself. Easy now, you two will be in the same class, so you'll have plenty of time to battle later. And get to know one another better, of course. We're gonna be neighbors and classmates? Nice. We'll be able to battle all we want. On that note, Miss Violet, have you decided which of these Pokémon you would like to be your first partner? Violet looked down at the three, all staring expectantly at her. She scanned them over and seemed to come to a decision. She walked over to Sprigatito and knelt down. SBRR? It mewed. That's Sprigatito, a grass-type Pokémon. It can use its plant power to soak up whatever water you throw at it, said Nimona. Would you like to go with our good grass-type Pokémon Sprigatito here? Violet nodded and picked up Sprigatito. Hello, I'm gonna call you Maiku, she said with a smile. Maiku crawled onto Violet's shoulder and rubbed its face against hers affectionately. Sprigatito seems to have taken quite a liking to you, Miss Violet. This is your first Pokémon, yes? Please raise it with love and care. And of course, be sure to keep it tucked safely inside a Pokeball, said Clavel. Violet nodded and returned Maiku to its ball. Violet, I can't believe you actually chose Sprigatito. Way to make the perfect choice for you. You two make such a good combo, said Nimona excitedly. She turned to Clavel. Can I choose one of these Pokémon too, Director Clavel? Oh, but did you not receive a Pokémon when you entered the academy, Miss Nimona? Clavel asked, confused. Not back then, no. I had other Pokémon I was focused on raising at the time. But now I want to raise a new Pokémon alongside Violet, while she raises her own new partner. Indeed, a rather splendid idea. If you wish to raise one of these Pokémon on equal footing with Miss Violet here, I shall be more than happy to allow it. Yes. Since Violet chose Sprigatito, I will choose. Nimona stopped partway through as she turned to Issei, who had been quietly watching things proceed. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you also going to pick one of these Pokémon? Issei was a bit surprised to be suddenly addressed when he was basically being treated like air a moment ago. Oh. No, I'm here due to circumstances. Circumstances? What kind of circumstances? Asked Nimona while tilting her head. Allow me to explain, said Clavel, and he proceeded to explain Issei's circumstances to Nimona while leaving out the part about him being from another world. Nimona was shocked to hear this and looked at Issei with a bit of pity. I'm so sorry that this happened to you. If you need anything, just ask, she said intensely. Again, Issei was surprised by how friendly everyone was. Thank you, but I really couldn't ask anyone else for more help. Mr. Clavel has already offered his aid and I can't keep asking everyone for help. Don't worry about it, Issei, was it? Helping each other out is the only right thing to do, said Nimona cheerfully. So, are you a trainer too? He isn't. Those Pokémon behind him are wild Pokémon, but they follow him. He came from a place where there are no Pokémon, said Violet. Nimona looked like she couldn't comprehend what Violet said and stared at Issei blankly. A place without Pokémon? Does such a place even exist? That sounds horrible, Miss Nimona, that's rude. I'm sorry. I was just so surprised. I love Pokémon and battling so much that I couldn't imagine a world without it. Yeah, you seem really into that. Kinda reminds me of a friend back home, Issei said nostalgically. He had a slightly sad and distant look as he remembered his rival. Nimona, Violet, and Clavel looked a bit worried that they brought down his mood, so Nimona tried to recover the situation. Well, don't worry about a thing. We'll teach you all about Pokémon while you're here. Actually, Nimona turned to Clavel. Why don't we enroll him in the academy? Issei was surprised she suggested that, but Violet seemed to be nodding in agreement. I can cover his tuition fees. Clavel seemed to be pondering her suggestion. I was planning on him staying in one of the school dorms anyway for the time being, but he nodded as if deciding. This is probably a better idea, wouldn't you agree, Master Issei? I couldn't possibly. Issei was trying to refuse but was interrupted by Violet. This will be the best way for you to learn about Pokémon. You even said earlier that you should probably enroll as well. You don't have to worry about paying me back. My family is loaded, said Nimona with a wink. Issei didn't really have anything to say back, so he sighed and gave in. Alright, you win? He looked up and smiled at Nimona. Thank you, I really appreciate all this. No problem. That's what friends are for. So we're friends now, eh? Yup. Issei couldn't help but laugh at the situation, with the others laughing with him. Then Nimona got back to her original point. So, are you gonna choose one of these guys as your starter? Issei looked between Quaxley and Fuecoco and wasn't sure what to do, but then he felt a tug at his leg, and he saw Riolu looking expectantly at him. Issei smiled and knelt down to Riolu while patting his head. I choose Riolu. This was met with a happy bark from Riolu. The others seemed to be fine with his decision as well. Clavel walked up with something in his hand. I figured it would come to this, so I had this ready. He handed Issei a Pokeball. Use this on Riolu and he will officially become your Pokémon. Issei nodded and took the ball. He pointed it at Riolu when something occurred to him. How do you use this? He asked sheepishly. Oh. Right, how rude of me. You must have the Pokémon touch the button on the front of the Pokeball in order to capture it, Clavel explained. Issei nodded and tapped Riolu's head with the button. The ball opened up and Riolu turned into red energy and entered the ball. The ball shook 3 times before making a low dinging sound with small stars flashing for a moment. Welcome to the team, Riolu. What are you going to name it? Asked Violet. Issei thought for a moment. He wasn't very good at names, so he decided to take a page from Asia's book. How about Ryosei? The ball shook in his hand, and he felt like that was a sign of confirmation. Well, I'm glad that worked out for you, said Nimona. Scy Scyther. Scyther also wanted to go with Issei and was clearly feeling left out. I should give you another ball for your other companion as well, said Clavel. All I have left is this net ball, but that's perfect for a bug type like Scyther. Issei took the ball from Clavel and, just like with Ryosei, tapped the button on Scyther and was caught very easily. Nimona clapped happily for Issei. Look at you! Just learning of the existence of Pokémon, and you already caught 2. I have a feeling you're gonna be one heck of a trainer. Now then, she turned to face Quaxley. Sorry to keep you waiting. Since Violet chose Sprigatito, I'll go for this little one. Nice to meet you, Quaxley. Welcome to the team, Pump. Quack Quaxley. Nimona turned to Violet and Issei. All right then. Now that we've chosen our Pokémon, we have to battle. I'll be waiting for you 2 down at the beach. Come join me when you're ready. With that, she turned and ran around her house towards the back. As you may have noticed, Miss Nimona is a tad overly fond of Pokémon battling. But I do hope you'll join her for a battle. It will help you get to know your own Pokémon as well. The pair nodded and began to walk towards the beach, following Nimona's trail. Issei noticed that Violet was holding Micah's ball and her phone in each hand, looking between the two. I wonder what she's looking at, thought Issei. Once they made it to the beach, they saw a court with Nimona standing in the center. As they approached, Nimona waved to them. Over here! She yelled. Issei stayed by the side of the court, while Violet walked up to Nimona. Nimona smiled as she spoke. Anyone can be a Pokémon trainer as long as they have Pokémon by their side, and it's our duty as trainers to help our Pokémon grow stronger through battle. So, you ready to battle me, Violet? Violet nodded in confirmation. Perfecto. I'm so excited. For this battle, I think I'll use... Nimona was practically yelling as she talked but was interrupted. Miss Nimona. Clavel walked up as Nimona's attention was now on him. I trust you remember that Miss Violet is wholly inexperienced in Pokémon battling? He softly scolded. Heh, whoops, good call, Director. I was about to send out one of my usual partners right off the bat. I guess I'll take this chance to try out my new buddy instead. Nimona turned and went to one end of the court with Violet going to the other. Come on, Violet! Let's have us a fruitful battle. Both of them got ready and threw their poke balls, releasing their partners. Issei was watching intently. He would be lying if he wasn't curious what these Pokémon battles were like. He wasn't the only one, as Ryosei and Scyther came out of their balls and were watching beside him. I know this is your first Pokémon battle, so let's just have some fun, said Nemona. Violet made the first move. Maiku, leafage! The green fur around Maiku's neck glowed and soon glowing leaves shot out at Quaxley. It was too slow to dodge and took a direct hit, knocking it down. Nemona didn't seem bothered, however, as Quaxley stood back up. You must have been studying up. Smart move. Grass is strong against water. Nemona made a slightly fierce look. Now it's our turn. Pound! Quaxley ran in at Maiku. Maiku avoided the first hit, but Quaxley quickly came in close and got her with the second attack. Violet decided to try a different move. Tail whip! Maiku turned around and started wagging its tail, with Quaxley seeming to follow it. Issei was confused about what was happening, so Clavel explained. Some Pokémon have moves that lower other Pokémon's guard. Tail whip is one such move, making it so that physical attacks do more damage. Issei didn't quite get it, but he went along with what he said. Nemona seemed to be ready to go. Quaxley, water gun! Quaxley shot out a stream of water that hit Maiku and pushed her back some, but she looked relatively unharmed. Maiku, use scratch! Maiku's paws extended its claws and Maiku rushed in and hit Quaxley, who couldn't get out of the way in time again. That did more damage now. Quaxley, use growl! Ordered Nemona. Pump pump! Quack Quaxley loudly. Maiku didn't seem to like that as it tried to cover its ears. Let's try and finish this, Maiku. Use leafage! Once again Maiku shot out leaves and made a direct hit on Quaxley. After the leaves dissipated, Quaxley was on the ground, knocked out. Quaxley is unable to battle, so the winner is Miss Violet, said Clavel. Nemona showed a bit of a surprised face as she recalled Quaxley to its ball. Wow! Not bad, neighbor. She walked up to Violet and handed her something that Issei didn't recognize. Look at you, winning your first battle ever. You've got even more potential than I thought. You're gonna be a strong trainer for sure, but now I want to try a different strategy. Let's go again, just one more battle. Violet looked a bit distressed, so Clavel was about to step in, but Issei did first. Hey, don't get ahead of yourself. She's a newbie, you can't be putting her through the ringer right off the bat. Nemona seemed to realize that she got carried away. Sorry. I got caught up in all the excitement. I'm really sorry, Violet. Same to your Sprigatito, too. Don't worry about it, said Violet. Hey, all right. Thanks, Violet. She turned to face Issei. So then are you gonna battle me next? Issei made an unsure face. I don't mind, but I don't know any of my Pokémon's moves. That's easy. All you have to do is check what your Pokémon knows on the app on your Rotom phone. I don't have a Rotom phone. I don't have anything, remember? Oh, right. Sorry, Nemona made an embarrassed look, but that quickly changed to a smile. Wait here a sec, was all she said before running off back the way they came. Issei and Violet were confused as to what she was doing, but 5 minutes later she was back. She walked up to Issei and handed him something. Here you go. One brand new Rotom phone. Wait, what? I can't accept this. There's no way I can. Issei was once again freaking out, but Nemona stopped him. I told you, don't worry about it. My family is loaded. My dad is on the board for the Rotom phone company, so we have a bunch of samples and extras just lying around gathering dust. You'd actually be doing me a favor by taking off my hands, she said with a smile. Issei was worried that he would become spoiled if he got used to this, but reluctantly accepted the phone. Thank you? Nemona nodded. Issei tried turning on his new phone when it sprung to life. A face appeared on the screen and the phone started floating around him. What the? Oh, right. You don't know about Rotom. Rotom is a Pokémon that is very useful in machines. It's only been in the past few years that Rotom phones have become widely used thanks to Rotom's help. Issei was confused, but then the Rotom phone activated and read out something for him to hear. Rotom, the Plasma Pokémon. Its electricity-like body can enter some kinds of machines and take control in order to make mischief. Research continues on this Pokémon, which could be the power source of a unique motor. What came out sounded like an encyclopedia entry. That's the Pokédex app. It has all the information about every discovered Pokémon, said Nimona. Issei was amazed and thought it would be really helpful. He looked down to his partner Ryosei and grabbed his phone. He opened up the dex entry on Riolu. Riolu, the emanation Pokémon. They communicate with one another using their auras. They are able to run all through the night. It has the peculiar power of being able to see emotions, such as joy and rage, in the form of waves. Wow, I guess that's why you weren't afraid of me when we first met, huh? Ryosei responded with a confident bark as Issei found the function to check Ryosei's moves. Bullet Punch, Low Kick, Work Up, and Terra Blast. These seem to be good moves, but I guess I won't know until I try, Issei thought. So, are you ready? Asked Nimona. Yeah, I think I am. How about you, Ryosei? Bark. The two went to opposite ends of the court with Ryosei standing ready. Nimona took a second to heal up Quaxley before sending him out again. All right. You ready to do this? Asked Nimona. Yeah, let's do this. Issei gave the first order. Ryosei, Bullet Punch. Ryosei's paw glowed silver, and he rushed in with a flurry of punches on Quaxley. It had no chance to even move before Ryosei was on top of him. The attack sent Quaxley back quite a bit. Nimona looked impressed. You may be new to Pokémon, but I can tell you're a battler, she said excitedly. Quaxley, use water gun. Quaxley shot a stream of water just like last time, but it didn't go like before. Ryosei, jump and use Terra Blast. Ryosei jumped in time, and while still in the air a ball of energy formed in its paws, which was then launched in a beam at Quaxley. Quaxley was clearly shocked from the counterattack because it didn't even attempt to dodge. It took the hit directly, resulting in a small explosion. When the smoke cleared, Quaxley was knocked out again. Issei was a bit worried he went too far, but that feeling soon went away. That was amazing! Yelled Nimona excitedly as she recalled Quaxley into its ball again. Nimona ran up to Issei, almost tackling him. Your sense for battle is amazing. I would have never expected something like that, especially from a beginner. Are you sure you weren't a strong trainer before? I wasn't, I swear. But I'm no stranger to fighting. Granted, I never had to directly command another quite this directly. This made Violet curious. If you didn't have Pokémon battles, how did you fight? She asked innocently. Issei had a somewhat conflicted look on his face. He didn't want to say too much since he didn't know who would believe him. He took a chance on Clavel and it worked out, but he wasn't gonna keep taking that risk. Clavel took this chance to intervene. Now, I see you're all becoming fast friends, but we shouldn't pry into other people's personal matters. He turned to Nimona. Can I count on you to take your new schoolmates here under your wing, Miss Nimona? I'm sure they can learn a great deal from a champion-ranked trainer, such as yourself. You bet, sir! Oh, that reminds me. Since you're both new to training Pokémon, there's an app you definitely need. She turned to Violet. You have a smartphone, right? Let me see it for a sec. Violet's phone floated in front of her, and Nimona added the Pokédex app to her phone. The Pokédex will automatically register any Pokémon you catch. It's a must-have for Pokémon trainers. It's a super handy app. Our homeroom teacher, Mr. Jack, actually made it himself. Back in my day, we used ordinary paper and handwritten notes to compile our Pokédexes. It's quite the age we live in now. Oof. Filling out a Pokédex by hand? I can't even imagine how much work that would take. Oh ho, no, I suppose you can't, said Clavel cheerfully. He turned and walked a few steps away. Yet no matter how much the times change, the wonder of meeting new Pokémon never does. That is a truly timeless pleasure. He turned to face the group. And the more Pokémon that you encounter, the more you'll find yourself growing and changing. I hope all three of you work hard toward the goal of completing your own Pokédexes. Now, Miss Nimona, I do still have a few matters to discuss with your parents. Could I depend on you to see Miss Violet and Master Issei to the academy? You would be doing me quite the favor. Of course. Leave it to me, then I leave them in your capable hands. He turned to Fuecoco, who had been obediently standing beside him the whole time. All right, little one. It's time you and I were on our way, Fwa, said Fuecoco. With that, the pair walked away. Maybe I ought to make a little more time to work on my Pokédex along with my battling. Oh, right. Speaking of Pokédexes, Violet, Issei, you've probably never caught a wild Pokémon, right? I mean really caught one, not one that wanted to be captured. Both shook their heads. I'll show you the ropes before I take you to the academy. Come with me. Nimona was about to run off but then remembered something. Oh. Almost forgot, here Issei. She held her hand out, and Issei accepted what she was giving him. It was the same thing she gave Violet earlier. That's 300 Poke-dollars. Your money for winning our battle. Wait, huh? Issei said, baffled. It's common courtesy to give the winner of a battle money. How much depends on the trainer, but it is understood by all trainers that the loser pays out. Geez, it's like PG dog fighting or something, thought Issei to himself, although he would be lying if he said he wasn't grateful for the money. Now then, follow me, said Nimona as she ran off. Both Violet and Issei just looked at each other and gave an exasperated smile as they followed after her. They reached the front gate and saw Nimona talking to Violet's mom. The two went down to meet them. Oh, Violet, Issei. I hear that Nimona here will be taking you both to school? That's right, ma'am. Leave it to me, so you've already managed to make another friend. And I read about all the wonderful teachers you'll have looking after you at the school. Plus so many facilities you can use as much as you like. Add in your new friends, Nimona and Issei, and it sounds like your school life is shaping up to be fantastic. Now, you'll be staying in the school dorms, so I want you to promise me you'll eat proper meals. Here's a bit of spending money to start off with. I also packed a lunch for your first day. She handed Violet some money and a sandwich. Oh. And maybe you'd better take these too. She handed Violet 5 potions. Use them on that precious little partner of yours, should it get hurt in battle. I know every day in your new life is going to be full of exciting experiences, far from home. Just try and savor them all, the good times and the hard times, too. But if you ever want to come back home, you know your bed is always ready for you. She turned to Issei next. Issei dear, I made you a sandwich too. I'm sure you must be starving. Issei accepted the sandwich with a small blush. Thank you, ma'am, it's no problem. Know that you're welcome to come stay with us whenever you like as well, right, Violet? Violet nodded happily. Oh, all right then. You three had better be off, I suppose. Take care on the way to school. All three of them nodded and she smiled, turned, then left back home. Your mother's so nice, Violet, said Nimona cheerfully before her face went to realization. Oh. But I was going to teach you guys how to catch wild Pokémon. Come on, vamos. Nimona ran up the hill to the intersection. This way. She yelled and ran toward the hills. She reminds me of a hyperactive chihuahua, said Issei. What's a chihuahua? Asked Violet. Issei chuckled to himself. Maybe I'll tell you sometime. Come on, Nimona's waiting for us. Violet nodded and the duo went to follow after Nimona. The pair walked up the road till they reached the beginning of Poco Path. They walked up to Nimona, who was waiting for them. Once they reached her, Nimona, she began to talk. All right. This here is Poco Path. It's the path that leads to adventure for you guys and me. Out here, things are different than in town. You're gonna see wild Pokémon out and about. They'll be on the path and in the grass and such. Get too close to one, and you'll have to battle. But you guys got your partners for that, right? And if you want to try and catch a Pokémon, you gotta use a good old poke ball. I got tons. Have a few. Nimona gave Violet and Issei 5 poke balls each. As they were putting them away, a pig-looking Pokémon ran out of the tall grass. Oink oink! The Pokémon's cry got the attention of everyone. Issei saw it and thought it looked very ordinary. A pig? He said, confused. Oh, what luck! Said Nimona excitedly. Time for some learning by doing. Try battling this Lechonk, Violet, she said while stepping back. Issei held back a laugh at hearing the Pokémon's name. Hee, Lechonk, he mumbled. Violet got into position and sent out Maiku. Maiku, use Scratch. Micah ran up and scratched Lechonk, causing it to reel back. Once it recovered, it tackled Miku, pushing her back. Scratch again. A repeat of what happened before happened again, including Lechonk tackling Miku. Issei was wondering what Violet's plan was for catching it, with Nimona looking excited. Violet pulled out one of her new poke balls and threw it at Lechonk. The ball hit it in the head, and after a moment of it bouncing off its head, the ball opened up and Lechonk turned into red energy as it entered the ball. The ball fell to the ground and began to shake. Everyone watched the ball intently until it made a dinging sound. Violet smiled and went to pick up the ball. Issei seemed to understand how catching worked, and he walked up to Violet with Nimona. "Holla! That was awesome! You caught the very first Pokémon you went for," said Nimona excitedly. "I'm crummy when it comes to actually catching Pokémon. Maybe you should give me tips. Anyway, have some more poke balls just in case." "Not every catch works out." Nimona handed Violet 10 more balls. She then turned to Issei and gave him 10 balls too. "Don't think I forgot about you," she said while winking. "Weaken the Pokémon, then throw the poke ball. Remember that, and you'll be fine. Now go battle those wild Pokémon and catch some of them." She turned and pointed to a lighthouse in the distance. "Let's meet back up at the lighthouse over there. You can see the school from the top," she said, and gestured for the two to go and look around. With that, the two walked up the path and saw many Pokémon running around. Violet decided to try and catch some, and when Issei saw her do this, he decided to try his hand at it as well. He sent out Ryosei and Scyther to try and catch some Pokémon, but he ended up beating them and they would flee. He tried to hold back more, and when he finally tried to catch one, he missed his throw. He tried a few more times before he caught his first real Pokémon, Pommy. The girls would love this little guy, especially Asia, he thought to himself as he went to pick up the balls that he completely whiffed. Violet clapped from behind him and congratulated him on his first catch, which embarrassed him a bit. After that, the pair went around and caught some more Pokémon before going up the road some more. They both found some items on the ground too, which confused Issei at first, but Violet and the Rotom phone helped explain what they were. As the pair were halfway to the lighthouse, Nimona caught up to them. "Hey Issei! Violet! You guys getting the hang of how to catch Pokémon okay?" she said while walking up to them. "Let me see. So far you've caught GHGYHHH." A loud cry of some creatures interrupted Nimona, surprising everyone as they looked around. "Whoa! What was that?" asked Nimona. "Go!" The voice of the creatures sounded weaker. "I've never heard that kind of cry before. Could be some strong Pokémon or something," said Nimona excitedly. Issei was concerned about something else. "That sounded like a creature in pain. It may need help." Violet nodded with Issei's assessment, while Nimona made a face as if just realizing this. "If that's the case, I say we find whatever made that cry. Let's take a look around." Issei, Violet. "Just be careful, there's a kinda unsafe cave not far from here, so steer clear. And I know your Rotom phones can help keep you safe, but watch your step by these cliffs anyway." Issei was confused by what she meant by the phone keeping them safe, but decided to shelve it for later. The pair investigated ahead of Nimona and didn't see anything out of the ordinary. Issei looked in the direction of the cliff and noticed the fence looked broken. "Maybe this way?" he said aloud, and he went to check, followed by Violet. The two went near the cliff and looked out to see if they could find the source of the noise. Issei was a bit impressed with the view, but was brought out of it by Violet tugging his sleeve. He turned to her and saw she was looking down the cliff and pointing at something. Issei followed her direction and saw two giant dragon lizard-looking creatures, one looking metallic and the other with feathers on its head, surrounded by a bunch of small dogs on a beach cove. The two dragons were lying on the ground and looked to be in a weakened state. The dogs barked threateningly at them, most likely trying to protect their territory. The metallic-looking dragon raised its head and let out a threatening roar. Ajiyhhhh. The roar was powerful, so much so that the cliff became unstable, and Violet slipped off. The shock on her face made Issei's stomach drop as she closed her eyes to brace for the impact. "Violet!" Issei yelled and jumped down to catch her. He grabbed her and released his dragon wings so that he could float down with her gently. Once they were on the ground, he quickly recalled them before she opened her eyes. Once she opened her eyes, she realized they were on the beach and unharmed. She looked at Issei confused. "Are you okay?" he asked, concerned. "Why, yeah, thanks to you," she said with a small blush. Issei let her down and the two returned their attention to the dragons. They saw the dogs run away in fear from the roar and the dragons looked to be weak. Violet began walking towards them with Issei close behind just in case. When they got to them, they let out a low groan. Violet looked at the metallic one with concern and Issei looked at the red-feathered one and felt a sense of kinship. They both looked too weak to move. Issei wondered what to do when he saw Violet take out her sandwich and offer it to one of them. Issei decided to follow her lead and offered his sandwich to the other one. Both dragons looked up curiously, first at Issei and Violet, then at the sandwiches. After a moment, both dragons began to chow down on the food and soon after they stood up as if their energy was restored. What's with the food in this world? It's like everything gives everyone a power boost or something, he thought to himself. The dragons looked at the pair and gave a small roar of thanks. They both gave the dragons a smile, glad that they seemed to be better. The dragons' attention was then drawn to the cave in the cliffside, and they walked past Issei and Violet to head to the entrance. Halfway there they stopped and began to glow. They both floated into the air and a bright flash of light and power showed, causing Issei and Violet to cover their eyes. When they could see again, they saw the dragons in new forms, and they let out a roar of power. The dragons looked back at them before heading to the cave entrance. "I guess they want us to follow them," said Issei. The pair followed after the dragons and followed close behind them in the cave. After some walking, the pair heard a familiar voice. "Violet? Issei?" called out Nimona from another entrance. She was looking around and eventually saw the pair below her. "There you guys are. You okay? You're not hurt, right?" "We're fine," said Violet. "Thank goodness. I was really worried if you'd gotten hurt because I said we should go looking for whatever made that cry." "No, never mind that. Right now we've got to focus on getting you back up here. You've just got to find some way to climb out of there. If you can get close enough, I'll try pulling you up with one of my Pokemon's moves." The pair continued to follow the dragons and Nimona seemed to finally notice them and started to comment about them. "Hey, what are those Pokemon in front of you? They look super strong. Kinda seems like they're waiting for you guys. Do they want you to follow them?" As they all got to a blocked-off path, the feathered dragon slashed at the boulder blocking the path and completely destroyed it. "Whoa! That was amazing! That Pokemon might be as strong as mine. Maybe stronger," said Nimona excitedly. The group continued through the cave with Issei and Violet noticing Pokemon they hadn't seen yet, including a large dog on a higher place that Issei thought wouldn't look out of place in hell. As they were getting to the other end of the room, a pack of the dogs from earlier arrived to block the path. The pair of dragons let out a powerful roar, and the dogs dispersed in fear. Once the way was cleared, they continued, but Nimona called out to them. "Hey, heads up! Some pretty rough and rowdy Haunar live in this cave. I'm glad you guys have some reliable bodyguards, but watch your back. They're strong." A little late with the warning there, Nimona, Issei thought, now knowing the name of the dogs. The group got to another blocked path and this time the metallic dragon broke it down. Nimona was getting even more excited. "Oh my gosh, it straight up pulverized that rock. How powerful, even is it? I wonder what that move was. Man, I wanna see it up close." The group continued forward until they were stopped by Nimona's warning. "You guys, look out! Something's coming." The pair stopped and readied themselves. "Behind you! It's behind you!" The duo turned around and saw the bigger dog from earlier approaching them. "Looks like he's the leader of the pack," said Issei as he sent out Ryosei, with Violet sending out Maiku. The large dog let out a deep howl as it ready for battle. Ryosei looked ready to fight, but Maiku looked scared. The large dog's fangs glowed with dark energy and went after Maiku, with Ryosei pushing the scared cat out of the way and getting hit himself. Ryosei took significant damage, and Issei had to call him back, with Violet calling Maiku back seeing she was too scared to fight. Issei stood in front of Violet protectively, ready to fight himself if he had to. The large dog let out another howl and the dragons finally took notice. They hesitated for a moment before jumping in front of them and pushing back the large dog and roaring defensively. The large dog let out a howl, and the pack of Houndour from earlier came and surrounded them. The dragons were prepared to fight but saw that the Houndour would gang up on their saviors if they fought, so each dragon grabbed one of the trainers and were looking for a quick way out. Up here! Quick! Yelled Nimona. The dragons jumped up the cliffs in the cave and reached the entrance where Nimona was. After they made it, Nimona clapped and did a fist pump at them, making it safely. Way to go! For a second, I thought you guys were goners. They all took a moment to breathe when the group noticed that the dragons were looking at the lighthouse, and they both started heading to it. After they got a bit outside, both dragons glowed again and collapsed, now looking like they did earlier. The group ran up to them concerned. Whoa! What's wrong? Asked Nimona, concerned. Maybe they used up all their power? What are these Pokémon anyway? They kinda look like Cyclizer, but I've never seen any quite like these before. And now they look so different from a minute ago. You think they're okay? Hard to say, said Violet. You can't tell either, huh, Violet? Well, all that aside, I'm seriously glad to have you guys back up here in one piece. You know, that battle down there was really something. You guys looked perfectly in sync facing that Houndour. I don't know what you saw, but we didn't tell them to do anything. They came to help us on their own, said Issei. What? You didn't even tell it what to do? I guess it's not like you're this Pokemon's trainer yet, huh? As she said that, the pair of dragons got back up, now looking a bit better. Oh good. Looks like they perked up a little. Do you think these fellas were the ones making those mysterious cries we heard before? Yeah, they were the source, said Issei. Oh man, oh man, oh man. The more I look at these Pokémon, the more mysterious they seem. If you guys do become their trainer, you gotta let me battle them. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. We still don't know what's going on. Right, sorry. I just get so excited, you know. Hey, let's exchange numbers so we can get in touch if we somehow get separated again. With that, everyone's Rotom phones came out, and they all exchanged numbers wirelessly. And here, this'll let you teach your Pokémon a move to help it battle stronger opponents. She handed both of them a disc, which Issei looked at curiously. What are these? These are TMs, or technical machines. They are used to teach Pokémon new moves, including some that they wouldn't learn naturally. Think before you use it, though. TMs can only be used once. Nimona began to head to the lighthouse. You've both been through enough for a minute. I think we better take a breather. Let's just get to the lighthouse. That'll be a good spot to relax. The pair nodded and went to the lighthouse, followed by Nimona and the two dragons. As they got to the lighthouse, they found someone else already there. They had noticed their approach, and his eyes locked onto the two dragons. Why, that little, he mumbled to himself. He ran up to the dragons and yelled at them. What are you two doing out here? He said angrily. He then paused for a moment before turning to the rest. I'm not talking to you three. You can shove off. Issei was annoyed by the new guy's attitude, but Nimona was the first to speak. Wait, I know you. Aren't you Arvin? You're enrolled in the humanities track, right? And aren't you the son of those Pokémon researchers, Professors Turo and Sada? Arvin turned around angrily. It doesn't matter who my parents are, he yelled at Nimona. He then turned to Issei and Violet. The real issue here is what in the world these Pokémon are doing out here. And what is with the forms they are in? They saved us from a tight spot, said Violet. See, we heard this strange cry, and we tried to investigate, but Violet and Issei fell off a cliff. Those Pokémon saved them, but they seem like they wore themselves out in the process. They got kinda slumpy afterward. But you should have seen them before. They looked totally different. They were unbelievably strong, said Nimona. Well, yeah, as they should be. But they can't fight while like this. The form Miraidon and Koraidon take in battle. That's its true form. Everyone took notice that he named them. Miraidon and Koraidon? Are those these Pokémon's names? How do you know them? Asked Nimona. The dragon duo seemed to want to go into the side room of the lighthouse. You can't go in the lab. It's locked, said Arvin to the dragons. Arvin then turned to Issei and Violet and looked upset again. I don't remember seeing you around. But given you're wearing a uniform, you go to the academy too, do you? I'm starting today, and even though he isn't wearing one, he is too, said Violet while pointing to Issei. Arvin looked between the two of them, then folded his arms. Koraidon and Miraidon aren't the sort of Pokémon that any old trainer can hope to command. It's special. Special how? What sort of Pokémon is it? Asked Nemona. Arvin gave Nemona a look and ignored her. He turned his attention to Issei. You think you're up to ordering them around? Then how about I test your worthiness? Fine, I'll take you on, said Issei. But Ryo's eyes hurt, said Violet. Don't worry, I have another partner, remember? He said with a smile. Heh. We'll look at you, quite the go-getter. I've been feeling out of sorts, so I'm gonna use this battle to blast these doldrums away. They took their positions and Arvin sent out Squovit, with Issei sending out Scyther. These memories are leaving a bad taste in my mouth, and I want it gone, said Arvin. Geez, this kid has some issues, Issei thought. Scyther, use Fury Cutter. Scyther went in and got a good hit on Squovit. Squovit, use Bite, ordered Arvin, and the squirrel jumped up and bit Scyther's arm. Scyther winced and shook off the squirrel. Wing attack, ordered Issei, and Scyther's wings shined bright before he charged at the squirrel and landed a direct hit, knocking it out. After recalling Squovit, Arvin held his head in annoyance. Seems you know a thing or two about battle, he said. He then walked up to Issei and gave him 300 Pokedollars. Everyone really just hands you money when you beat them, Issei thought as he felt weird about the whole thing. Nemona walked up to Issei with a smile, followed by Violet. Wow, Issei. That was awesome, said Nemona. I guess I wasn't ever going to stand a chance using some Pokémon I'd only just caught, complained Arvin. He straightened himself up and looked at Issei seriously. But if you really think you can take Koraidon and Miraidon off my hands for me, you'll need these. It's the poke balls these brutes have been kept in. Arvin handed Issei both balls. So why'd you have it? Questioned Nemona. Issei felt he knew how this was gonna go. Arvin just shrugged and turned away. Anyway, that thing's your problem now, not mine. Good luck. With that, he ran off down another path. What? Oi! Can you not hear me or something? Yelled Nemona. Fine, be that way. But you better actually show up for school. What a weirdo. Issei handed Violet one of the balls, with Violet being confused. I was hoping you would help me out. I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm definitely in over my head. Besides, you helped out Miraidon, so it only makes sense you stick with him, said Issei. Violet nodded and accepted the ball. Both Koraidon and Miraidon walked up to the pair and went into their respective balls. After that, the pair turned to Nemona for what to do next. That Arvin guy definitely knows more than he's letting on, said Nemona. You think? Thought Issei sarcastically. Next time, he and I are battling, I'm gonna wring some answers out of him, she said seriously. Then she relaxed again and continued. But oh right, we gotta climb the lighthouse. Can't wait to show you guys the view of our school. After she said that, she ran to the ladder and climbed up. The duo looked at each other and smirked before following her up. Once they got to the top, they stood on both sides of Nemona and took in the view. Nemona pointed in the direction of a giant building. Look, guys. That's Mesagoza. And that building with the huge poke ball on it is our school. It's gonna be great having you guys in the same school. I'm looking forward to it, said Violet. It definitely won't be boring, that's for sure, said Issei. Right. I can't wait to get back. We're gonna get to learn so much and battle so much. Isn't it awesome what you can see from up here? Mountains, forests, grasslands, beautiful nature stuff, as far as the eye can see. And you know what's waiting for you all over these natural spaces? Tons of Pokémon. Nemona took a few steps back to look at both Issei and Violet. Consider this me officially telling you, welcome to Paldea, she said with a big smile. The two felt grateful for the welcome, especially Issei. But anyway, like you can see, it's kind of a hike to get to school from here. Let's make it to Los Platos for starters. That's right on the way. Nemona turned around and headed for the ladder. Vamos. Come on. Violet followed after her, with Issei about to follow her when he came up with an idea. Hold on, you guys, he said, stopping them. What's up, Issei? Asked Nimona. Well, I was thinking, if it's not too much of a bother if we could get a group picture? He asked. Since I'm probably gonna be here for a while, I thought I would like to record my time here to show everyone when I get back home. That sounds like an awesome idea, said Nimona enthusiastically. I'm down for it. How about you, Violet? That sounds nice, she said happily. The girls took a side of Issei, with Nimona throwing up a peace sign, and Violet gave a thumbs up as his Rotom phone floated in front and took a picture. Issei examined the picture and thought it came out well, as did the girls. I think I will document my journey here to show everyone. Then when I find a way back, maybe I'll be able to bring them here as well and show them how amazing this place is, said Issei. Nimona and Violet made faces of realization. That's right. If you didn't know what Pokémon were, then that means there's a whole civilization out there that doesn't know either, said Nimona, shocked. Try a whole nother world, said Drake in Issei's mind. Nimona looked at Issei seriously. You gotta learn all you can while you're here so that you can bring the joys of Pokémon to the people of your town? City? I don't know where you live, said Nimona, slightly embarrassed. Issei let out a small chuckle. I'm from a small town, but there are other places I know of that don't know either. I'm sure it would be quite revolutionary for them. Well, either way, you gotta do your best, and the first thing on the list is to get to Mesagoza. So come on, let's meet up at Los Platos first, said Nimona, and she ran to the ladder. Issei and Violet looked between each other and smiled before following her. Something tells me I'm gonna want to remember every moment of this. Issei and Violet climbed down the lighthouse and started to continue down the path. There was no sign of Nimona, so it seemed she had rushed off ahead. Before they could go any further, Violet stopped Issei. Wait a second, she said. Issei turned confused, wondering what was wrong. You haven't healed Ryosei yet. Is there a way to? 'Cause I don't have any healing powers or anything, said Issei as he thought about how helpful Asia would be right about now. Oh, that's right, you don't have any potions or anything. Here, let me use some of mine. It's the least I can do since Ryosei protected Maiku, she said as she fished out some potions from her bag. Issei called out Ryosei, who wasn't steady on his feet. As Violet was going through her bag, Maiku came out of her ball on her own and ran up to Ryosei. Maiku clearly had concern on her face as she tried to help steady Ryosei, but Ryosei just gave a small smile and patted Maiku's head in a reassuring manner. Issei watched as Violet applied the potion to Ryosei and nodded in understanding when he saw how to apply first aid. There, all done, said Violet. She then reached out and pet Ryosei. Thank you, Ryosei. If it wasn't for you, Maiku would have been really hurt. She looked down at Maiku with a mix of sadness and self-loathing. If we were stronger, this wouldn't have happened. Issei had seen this line of thinking before and wanted to stop her before she went down a dark path. You can't blame yourself for what happened. You're a new trainer just like me, and even though Ryosei and I have a fighter's spirit, we still couldn't do anything either. We were in a situation out of our control, and that we had no way of preparing for. It wouldn't be the first time I was in this kind of situation, and what I've learned from my own experiences is that if you don't want it to happen again, then you must grow stronger so that it won't happen again, said Issei with a serious look in his eyes. Violet saw this look and felt something behind his eyes that she never saw in another person, although she didn't know what it was. She nodded at what Issei said, and he gave her a reassuring smile. After that, they decided to continue forward. They were coming up on a bridge when a kid called out to them. Hey, let's battle, he said while holding a Pokeball. Issei and Violet looked at each other, and then back at the kid, both pointing at themselves. Whoever is fine. I just won a battle. Is this a normal thing? Asked Issei. Yes, trainers wander every region, and it's not out of place to be challenged out of the blue, said Violet. I see, then I'll take you on. My partner needs a good battle to pick himself up, said Issei confidently. All right. I'm Elian, and I plan on winning, said the youngster. Youngster Elian sent out Tarantula while Issei sent out Ryosei. Ryosei used Bullet Punch. Ryosei's paws glowed silver, and he rushed in faster than Tarantula could react and was hit with a barrage of punches. After that, the small spider Pokémon was down. Issei was a bit surprised that it was already over. Wait, that's it? he said quietly to himself. Youngster Elian recalled his Pokémon and had a sad look, which made Issei feel kinda bad. Your Pokémon are strong, huh? After that he walked up and gave Issei 2 $20 which only made him feel worse. But Violet patted his back and told him it was fine. After that the pair continued down the path, crossing the bridge and catching some more Pokémon along the way. Issei went out of his way to catch some Pokémon he thought the others would like. He planned on taking care of them and bringing them back as gifts for making the others worried. Violet was also catching more Pokémon, but Issei could tell she was fighting more seriously than before because she ended up beating some of them and causing them to run away before trying again to capture them. Eventually the pair made it to the edge of town where Nimona called out to them. "Oi, Issei, Violet! Over here!" The pair walked over to her, and when they got there, they heard a little jingle from the stand next to them. "This here's a Pokémon Center. You can come here to take care of a lot of things related to your Pokémon. But I'll leave the explanations to the pros here," she said, looking at the lady behind the desk. "Happy to be of service, and welcome to the Pokémon Center. I'm Nurse Joy, and I'm here to keep everyone's Pokémon healthy. Here on my left is the Poke Mart counter. You can buy things like Poke balls and potions. Hello? We accept payment both in cash and in LP, League points, that is. 1 LP is worth 1 Poke dollar," said the merchant, "and this to my right is the technical machine, TM machine for short. It's your ticket to making TMs, which you can use to teach your Pokémon. You'll need to pay LP and supply the machine with materials that Pokémon drop. LP comes in handy both at these machines and at stores. I've got a lot. Here, you guys have some," said Nimona. Everyone's phones came out and Nimona transferred 5,000 LP to both Issei and Violet. "Oh yeah, and some of these too." Nimona then handed both of them some materials. Issei was holding this stuff and didn't really have anywhere to put it. He looked to Violet apologetically. "Sorry, could you hold on to this? I don't have anywhere to put it." Violet nodded and put the materials in her bag. "Come visit us at the Pokémon Center anytime you need any help," said Nurse Joy. "We will." "Thanks," said Nimona. She turned to the other two and smiled. "Remember, had a rough adventure? Get to the Pokémon Center. Sometimes you have to know this sort of stuff for quizzes at school. But mnemonics help out. All right, why don't you two go ahead? There are plenty of Pokémon up ahead. I'll meet you at the gate to Mesagoza." The pair nodded and went on their way after checking into the Pokémon Center. They had walked down the road a bit when Violet suddenly stopped. Issei turned to face Violet, wondering what was wrong. "Issei, why don't you go on ahead? I missed a Pokémon on the previous route, so I'm gonna go back and try and catch it. Why don't we go together?" "I'm in no rush," said Issei. Violet just shook her head. "It's fine. I can handle myself. Why don't you look around town? I'm sure there's stuff here you've never seen." "I'll catch up," she said with a smile. Issei recognized that look and decided to give her space. Violet turned around and went back to the previous route. As she faced away from Issei, her smile fell from her face. As she went back, she kept trying to catch the last few Pokémon she didn't catch, but she was having a hard time because the Pokémon around her were running away after seeing her earlier. After some time, she became upset and was now crouched down on the ground with her head in her arms. She was still upset about earlier, even though Issei told her not to worry about it. She heeded his words but didn't know what to do. Maiko was sitting next to her looking at her worried. Violet saw this and tried to calm down by petting her. As she was doing so, she felt a small hand on her opposite side. She turned to see a Ralts that was a different color than the ones she saw earlier looking at her consolingly. "Hey there. Are you trying to make me feel better?" Ralts said the Ralts with a small nod. Violet smiled and picked up the Ralts and sat with it in her lap. Maiko also moved to sit on her lap next to the Ralts. "Thanks, you too, I feel better now. I'm sorry I worried you." Violet looked down on the two as they looked up at her. She gave a smile to them, which they returned. She looked at the Ralts and pulled out a Poke ball. "Do you want to come with me, Ralts?" The Ralts made a thinking pose but then smiled and nodded. Violet nodded and put the ball on the Ralts' head, and it went into the ball. A few shakes later, and the Ralts was caught. She let the Ralts out, and it made a small cry of happiness. Violet felt calmer when she saw the Ralts, and thought of a name for it. I think I'll call you Harmonia, Bralts, said Harmonia. With that done, Violet walked back to town. Issei was wandering around town waiting for Violet. The town was small, so he had circled it in no time. It was mostly homes with a few businesses here and there. He saw how some people interacted with various Pokémon, and thought how nice it was that these people basically lived in harmony with nature. He wondered if his world could ever be like this one day, but everything was so different that he couldn't see how it could be achieved. As he was lost in thought, an ice cream stand caught his attention, and he decided to look at what they had. As he was looking through the menu, Violet came back. Sorry if I made you wait, she said. It's fine. Have you cleared your head? Issei asked. Violet nodded with a shade of embarrassment on her face. Issei smiled and pointed at the ice cream cart. How about we get some ice cream to cheer you up? The two got some ice cream and found a bench to sit on as they enjoyed it. After a bit of silence, Violet decided to speak. So, what did you think about the town? There are a lot of homes here, but not a lot of businesses. I didn't see many gardens or farms, so I'm wondering how the people here provide for themselves. It's probably because Mesagoza is so close by. We can see the wall from here, and it looks even bigger up close. I'm sure the people in town go there to get all their needs met. Yeah, you're probably right. After their short talk, they finished their ice cream and started to head to meet up with Nimona. Along the way, they fought more trainers and caught more Pokémon, with Issei being introduced to Violet's new Pokémon, Harmonia. After some time, the pair made it to the Pokémon Center rest stop in front of the gates of Mesagoza. The two were awed by the size of the gate, but before they went in, they heard someone call out to them from behind. Why? Issei, Violet. The pair turned to see Nimona coming up from behind. Did ya battle some trainers on the hill? Bet you guys Pokémon are getting stronger. How about you both show me how much you all have learned in a battle? The pair smiled as they saw this coming, and they agreed. Issei let Violet go first as he stood off to the side. All right. Nothing like having a friend around. Come on, Violet. Let's have us a fruitful battle. The two went to opposite ends of the gate, and the battle started with Nimona sending out Quaxly and Violet sending out her new Piku she caught. You seem like you're getting better at this, so I'm coming at you with two Pokémon this time, said Nimona. Violet went first. Piku, use Thunder Shock. The small electric mouse shot out a bit of electricity at Quaxly, and the bird looked like it took serious damage. You really work your type matchups. I can tell how badly you want to win, said Nimona. Quaxly, use Water Gun. The small duck shot water at Piku, and the small mouse tumbled over. Even Issei could tell that did more damage than its attack. Violet was worried about what to do, but before she had a chance to decide, Piku got back up and its body became surrounded in electricity. Violet wasn't sure what was happening until Piku charged in at Quaxly on its own, surprising the duck. Once the move connected, it showed Quaxly knocked out. What move was that? Violet asked herself as she pulled out her Rotom phone. She checked Piku's moves and saw it knew something called Volt Tackle, a high-damage recall move. She soon saw the recall on Piku because after the attack it was having a hard time standing up. Nimona recalled her Pokémon and readied the next one. Wow! That little guy sure has some power in her. But let's see if you can handle the next guy, she said as she sent out Pommy. Violet decided it was best to switch out and sent out her other new friend. Go, Harmonia! Nimona made the first move and decided to take things up a notch. Battling you is a blast. Think I'd better pull out my ace in the hole. She pulled out another ball that didn't look like a poke ball and held it out. Light started to flow into it as the surroundings suddenly became darker. She then threw the ball at her Pokémon, causing it to become enveloped in crystals before the Pokémon smashed out, now looking like it was made of crystal and having a giant crystal light bulb on its head. Issei and Violet were shocked by this as Nimona energetically spoke. Terastalizing is always a solid strategy. It gives moves of the Pokémon's Terra type more power. Pommy, use Thunder Shock. The light bulb on Pommy's head began to glow brighter, as it unleashed a more powerful electric attack than Piku did earlier. Harmonia was hit but withstood it. Violet decided to go on the defensive. Harmonia, double team. Harmonia made duplicates all around the battlefield trying to confuse Palmy. Nemona wasn't deterred though. Try to find the right one. Thunder shock. Palmy shot more electricity at some of the copies but didn't manage to hit the real one. Harmonia, use confusion. Harmonia along with the duplicates moved in sync as she used a psychic attack on Palmy, lifting it up and knocking it away. Violet wanted to keep the momentum as she said the next order. Disarming voice. Harmonia made a cry that damaged Palmy, but Nemona used that to her advantage. Found it. Palmy, use Thunder Shock on that one, she said, pointing to one of the Harmonias. Palmy did so and landed a direct hit, causing the other copies to disappear. Violet didn't want to lose, and Harmonia sensed this, so it quickly picked itself up and gave a determined nod to Violet. Violet saw this and smiled thankfully as she went to end this. Harmonia, use confusion. Harmonia used its psychic powers to lift Palmy and slam it down. After the impact, the crystals that surrounded its body dissipated and Palmy was knocked out. As the light returned to the surroundings, Nemona recalled Palmy and gave a smile to Violet. Man, I can't believe how fast you're improving. After that, the group reformed as Nemona praised Violet. Amazing! Look at you, taking on a terastalized opponent and winning, no problem. She then made a face of realization. Come to think of it, you can't terastalize your Pokémon yet, huh? Don't worry, I'll get you taken care of. You're so good with Pokémon battles, I forget how new you are to stuff sometimes. Anyway, it was fun to battle you. Here, have some revives as thanks. Nemona handed Violet some revives that she put into her bag. Nemona looked over to Issei. Same for you. I'll make sure you're taken care of as well. But first we should battle too. Just let me go to the Pokémon Center first, she said as she ran over to the nearby center, full of energy as usual. I've been here less than a day, but I already feel like I'm used to this, said Issei as he walked to where Violet was when she battled. Violet chuckled as she stood off to the side. Nemona came back and got ready to battle. All right, I won't use terastalization this time since I remember you can't use it. Don't hold back on my account. I can take whatever you dish out and my Pokémon can do the same, he said with a smile. Nemona was surprised at first, but then her expression changed to the biggest smile they saw on her. You got it. I won't hold back, she said as she sent out Quaxley again. Issei decided to send out a new Pokémon he caught earlier, which was Wooper. Nemona made the first move. Quaxley, use Pound. The small duck charged at Wooper and hit its head. Wooper recoiled a bit but didn't look too bothered. Wooper used Mud Shot. Wooper jumped up and shot some mud at Quaxley, getting a direct hit. Issei noticed that after being hit, Quaxley began to move a bit slower. Not bad. Let's try this. Quaxley, use Water Gun. Quaxley shot out water at Wooper, which made a direct hit, but Wooper looked unaffected. Rather, it looked happy to be hit by water. Nemona was surprised by this. What? But ground types are weak to water types. I see. Is that how it works? Well, since I saw your battle earlier, I thought I would give this little guy a try. When I caught him, my Rotom phone said he had an ability called Water Absorb, which healed it after being hit by water-type attacks. Now that you told me it's weak to water, I see I caught one with a very helpful ability, explained Issei. Nemona couldn't help the smile on her face. You really are a natural at this. Once you really understand how battling works, you'll make one heck of a trainer. Thanks, but let's not get distracted. Wooper used Mud Shot. Wooper shot more mud at Quaxley, seeming to do more damage than usual. A critical hit? Wow, nice one. I have a hard time landing those even when I try. I see, so if I can do it right, my moves can do more damage than usual, Issei thought to himself. He saw that Quaxley was even slower, so decided to capitalize. Wooper used Pound. Wooper went in and hit Quaxley with its tail, and Quaxley was knocked out. Nemona called back Quaxley and sent out Palmy again. Issei decided to stay in with Wooper since he felt he had a good momentum going. Nemona got out her Terra Orb and began to use it again. You said not to hold back, so I won't. She tossed it and Palmy transformed again. Palmy, Use Thunder Shock. Palmy shot out electricity at Wooper, which made Issei worry if it was gonna be okay. But his fears were swept away as Wooper didn't react at all to being shocked. Issei's face was painted with confusion, but Nimona just rubbed the back of her head with a small laugh. Ground types are immune to electric-type moves, so nothing happened. Wait, if you knew that, then why did you attack with that move? Because that's the only move this Palmy knows, said Nimona. Issei was surprised. He didn't mean to, but he unintentionally walled his opponent from doing anything. This made him realize that this could happen to him too and that he still had much to learn. Issei contemplated switching Pokémon, but Nimona stopped him. This is a part of battling too, Issei. If I'm not prepared for what my opponent brings, then it's on me. Don't feel like you have to even the playing field. Instead, use this as a chance to gain experience with your partners. Issei nodded, and after a few more mud shots from Wooper, Palmy was defeated. Issei still didn't like the idea of one-sidedly beating an opponent, but he took this as a learning experience. Sorry, Nimona. I told you to go all out, but then did something that completely shut you down, said Issei. Nimona just smiled and waved it off. Don't worry about it. Like I said, it's my fault for not being prepared, and besides, it's rare for me to battle someone who would use a strategy like that on me, purposefully or not. I look forward to what else you can do when you really plan it out, said Nimona excitedly. She then handed Issei some revives just like with Violet. The three gathered in front of the gate as they were ready to enter. Now, Mesagoza's waiting just past this gate. At last, the city where our school is. There's a ton of hills and stairs and stuff in the city, so I'm gonna take a quick breather, and then catch up with you two soon. Issei and Violet walked in and traveled through the tunnel into Mesagoza. Once they made their way through, they were awed by the sight of the large city in front of them. It was a similar feeling Issei had when he visited the underworld the first time. After they had taken in the sights, Nimona ran up from behind them. All right, here I am. We finally made it, huh? This is Mesagoza, the biggest city in Paldea. It's been a big hub since a long time ago. Lots of folks come here to learn about advances in technology, and all kinds of other stuff. There's a hair salon where you can change your looks, plus places with tasty food and fixings. What do you want to see first, guys? The pair looked between each other and nodded. Tasty food, please, they said together. Ha! I didn't have you pegged for a big eater. But that's smart. You can't battle well with a growling tummy, right? Nimona made a face of realization. Oh, and speaking of battling, I want to be sure you'll both be able to terastalize your Pokémon too. There's a few things that gotta get done for that to happen, but I'll take care of them. Meanwhile, you guys just have fun looking around the city a bit. There's so much to do. Grab a bite, buy some accessories to spice up your uniform. If you want my personal recommendation, you've gotta see Delibird Presents. They sell handy items for Pokémon to hold. Once you guys have seen your fill, we can meet up again in front of the school. Just be ready. The stairs up to school are no joke. Later then. Get pumped for some terastalizing. With that, Nimona ran off to the school. The pair took Nimona's advice and walked around the city. They saw some stores and stopped for some food. Violet was interested in the hair salon, so they went to visit it. When they walked in, the lady at the counter greeted them. Hello, you two. Welcome to our salon. Would you two happen to be on a date? She asked playfully. Violet blushed intensely while Issei also made an embarrassed expression. And no, we're just friends. This is our first time in the city, and she wanted to see what styles you had. Issei tried to clarify with Violet nodding in agreement. Oh, I see. My mistake, said the lady with a small chuckle. You did that on purpose, Issei thought to himself. Violet looked at the different styles but decided not to change anything. They continued to see the sights, seeing that there were Pokémon centers on both ends of the city. They stopped by Delibird Presents and picked up some items. After some time exploring, they decided it was time to head up the steps and meet with Nimona. The pair climbed up the first set of stairs and saw something that neither of them expected. There was a girl with two-toned hair looking like she was being hassled by a guy, and a girl with helmets and star glasses. As they got closer, they heard their conversation. Don't you get it? If you join Team Star, You can shine as bright as anybody, said the female grunt. The girl in question didn't look convinced and looked like she wanted to get away from the situation. The other guy spoke next. Seriously, what's with you? Don't you want to burn bright with awesome friends like us? Not really, said the girl. This annoyed the pair. Look, we've got a quota we're supposed to fill for new members, so just sign up already, said the female grunt, irritated. I'd rather not. Issei had enough of this and stepped in with Violet also backing him up. Didn't you hear her? She said she doesn't want to go with you, said Issei sternly, with Violet nodding in agreement. Huh? You want in on this too? If you're here to sign up, we'll get to you next. We've nearly got this one in the bag, said the male grunt. We're Team Star, kid. We burn so bright, it hurts to look at us. But you knew that, right? Never heard of you, said Issei flatly. The female grunt didn't like that answer. Ugh, another ignorant little nobody here. I'm part of Team Star, and still I get no respect? I gotta work my way up the ranks. The male grunt turned to his partner. Hey, we can't let something like this slide. The honor of our team's on the line, so we've got no real choice but to battle, yeah? That's true. Let's take these two losers down so we can recruit 4 eyes over there. We'll make sure these fresh-faced nobodies see stars. Issei turned to Violet. How about we teach them a lesson instead? Violet nodded seriously and the 4 took their positions. Issei sent out Ryosei with Violet sending out Maiku. The grunts sent out Shrudel and Yungus. Ryosei, use bullet punch on Shrudel, ordered Issei. Maiku, use leafage on Yungus, ordered Violet. Ryosei charged in with glowing fists, landing some consecutive hits on Shrudel, knocking it out. Maiku landed her hit on Yungus, dealing a decent amount of damage on it. The female grunt was distraught to be instantly taken out. How come I'm the one seeing stars? She said. Her partner was now more nervous since he was on his own, but he still tried to fight back. Yungus, use payback. The Yungus charged at Maiku and the grass cat was about to be hit, but before the move could connect, Ryosei moved in and moved both Maiku and itself out of the way, dodging the attack. Issei smiled and looked to Violet. Have Maiku finish this. Violet nodded in response. Maiku, use bite, she ordered. Ryosei, toss Maiku at Yungus, ordered Issei. Ryosei did as ordered and launched Maiku with all its strength. Maiku, now heading straight for the surprised Yungus, readied its fangs as the attack connected and defeated the Yungus. The second grunt couldn't believe what he saw and slumped in place. Your Pokémon burned so bright. After the battle, the 2 grunts began to complain. Why is a nobody like you so good at battling anyway? That's just not right, said the female grunt. The male grunt looked like he really wanted to get away. Well, we should be on our merry way then, yeah? Pero bueno. What do you think you're doing? Said a familiar voice. Everyone turned to see it was Nimona with a slightly annoyed face. Ugh. It's that student council dweeb, said the female grunt. She's gonna report us if we don't book it, said the male grunt. I can't believe you two, complained Nimona to Issei and Violet, which confused them. You don't have to go find randos to battle. You'll have all the battles you'll ever need with me. That's a red flag if I've ever seen one, thought Issei as he was exasperated by Nimona misreading the situation. That's not what really happened, said Violet. It was those Team Star punks trying to pressure this girl, followed up Issei. Wait, they picked a fight with you? Wow, I read that way wrong. Sorry, said Nimona, realizing her mistake. She then turned to look at the grunts. I get it now. You two have Team Star written all over you for sure. I bet you were trying to pressure people into signing up again, weren't you? Hi. We were not doing that, said the male grunt nervously. Well, that explains it. As head of the student council, stopping this type of nonsense would normally be my job, but this is also the perfect chance for you two to try my amazing and ultra-rare gift to you two. Nimona handed both Issei and Violet a Terra Orb. With the Terra Orb, you can terastalize your Pokémon during battle. Let's see, after it terastalizes, I'm pretty sure your Sprigatito will be a grass type. As for your Riola, wow, it will be a dragon type. Your little guy sure is special to have a Terra type that's different from its normal type. Normally you've gotta take special classes to be able to get one of these Terra orbs. But I'd put in a good word for you too. Should she really be doing something like that? Isn't that breaking the rules? Issei thought while Nemona went off to the side. Now, time to give it a whirl. You'll learn to use it faster in battle than if I just explain it to you, said Nemona energetically. The male grunt looked panicked. Wait, what? You want these kids to practice wailing on us with their Terra Pokemon, is that it? Got a problem? You want to battle me instead? Said Nemona threateningly. That caused both grunts to flinch. But both of our Pokemon got mopped earlier. They're in no shape to battle, said the female grunt, trying to weasel out of the situation. Nemona just smiled. In that case, I'll heal them up for you. They can battle again. She walked over to the grunts, and they reluctantly let her heal their Pokemon. Once that was done, Nemona went back to her spot as everybody got ready to battle again. Take your places, and battle, announced Nemona. Everyone sent out the same Pokemon as last time, with both Violet and Issei taking out their Terra orbs. Well, nothing for it, I guess, said Issei as he held out the orb, with Violet doing the same above her. Light gathered into the two orbs and the surroundings darkened. Then Issei and Violet threw their orbs at their Pokemon, and what happened to Palmy before happened to Maiku and Ryosei, with Maiku getting a crystal bouquet on her head and Ryosei getting a dragon statue on his head. Issei checked Ryosei with his Rotom phone and saw that Terra Blast had changed type from normal to dragon. He decided to test it out. Ryosei used Terra Blast on Shriddle. Violet went in too. Maiku used Leafage on Yungas. Both Pokemon launched their attacks together, and one-shot both of the grunts' Pokemon. Damn, that is a bit overpowered. No wonder they make you take a special class for it, thought Issei. Both grunts looked like they wanted to cry. Nice job, you two. You pulled off terastalizing no problem. Moves of your Pokemon's Terra type will hit even harder when it's terastalized, you know. Sometimes you'll find Pokemon whose Terra type is different from their usual type, like Riolu there. That difference can open up your strategic options. Gotta charge your Terra Orb at a Pokemon Center after every use by healing your team, though, explained Nemona. Well, if that's everything, we'll be getting out of here. Hasta la vista, said the male grunt. Me too. Hasta la vista, said the female grunt, and they ran off. After they were gone, Nemona explained the situation. So yeah, Team Star is basically a group of students that like to kick up trouble. They hardly ever show up to class, and when they get together in groups, they're a real headache. Even the teachers don't know what to do with them from what I hear. Excuse me, said the girl from before who had been silently watching the whole thing. Issei and Violet had almost forgotten about her as they turned to her. I just well, thanks, she said as she walked towards the steps. So, yeah, see you around. With that she ran up the steps. Oh, look at you two. Already becoming big heroes around campus. I don't think I've seen that girl around. Maybe she's a new transfer, like you that EV bag though. Love that fluff. Anyway, seems like the troubles died down, so we'd better book it up to school. Get ready to climb the worst staircase in the world, said Nemona as she ran up the stairs. The pair smirked and followed her up, passing by students and up to the entrance. Thanks for watching this video. You really enjoy this video. Like, subscribe, and comment down below, and turn on that bell notification. Don't forget to support and follow Myth0s216 for writing that awesome fanfic, and also make sure to comment on this story link in the description. See you in the next video. Goodbye.